Welcome back, everyone, to a very unique Box episode. This has been a real challenge, I'm not going to lie, getting this set up. There's a reason that we want to switch to home setup, right? So as you'll see, Matt is here.
Hello.
And I am here. Okay, so we are in our own homes, respectively. We've tried to make the setup look nice for you, but my God, getting these cameras to work was an incredible nightmare. I mean, just getting the whole setup to work was logistically a nightmare. But we are here. So if you are watching us on YouTube, do give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new around here. Make sure you comment down below if you agree or disagree with anything that we say in the podcast, because there are quite a lot of controversial takes, it seems. If you do want to get involved on social media, make sure you check us out on TikTok and Instagram. That is where we are most active. You just need to search BoxBoxPod and BoxBox Clips on TikTok. We will show up. It's been an active week for us on socials, but we are heading into a race week, and it is now time to look ahead to the Canadian Grand Prix.
You know what? I am finding this a bit weird because obviously, like you say, welcome along everyone. It's really bizarre because I've never actually recorded a podcast in my home. Well, I may have done back in the day, but no, Racecast, Box, we've never filmed like this. But kind of touching on what you said earlier, it allows us to hopefully bring you guys more content throughout the race weekend, which I think sometimes we always feel we're a bit behind giving you content because, before you know it, you've got... By Monday, there's no reaction, and by that point, it's 24 hours later. So we want to give you more action quicker. So hopefully this will work. Lighting wise, as Luke said, it's just been a nightmare trying to get things right, trying to actually move things around my office because I don't normally use this office. It's normally just like a spare bedroom. So I've had to.
I tell you what though,
yeah.
I think you've got the setup on point. I think yours looks nicer than mine. I'm not gonna lie. I think the fact that I have to wear these bloody spaceship headphones, not ideal. I'm going to do something about that. I think what we both need is we need to get proper tripods set up behind our screens. We need to get microphones on suspension arms and a nice little key light because you've got that nice warm... You see how it's like nicely lit half your face? I'm just using my computer screen for this. So it might be a bit of a B-Tech setup. Right now, that's how we do things.
Do you know what?
Right?
I would take a B-Tech setup, starting off with.
This...
I mean, we've been doing the podcast for years, but I would take a B-Tech setup.
This is a pretty decent B-Tech setup. But anyway, I know you're not here to talk about us, whine about our setups or whatever. But one thing I should mention is we are BoxBox Podcast, powered by BoxBox Club. And we do have an exclusive discount code for you in the description down below. It will get you 30% off the Ultra subscription, which I do highly recommend. But BoxBox Club is a free F1 widget app that you can download on the Google Store or the App Store. So do try it out for free first because you don't have to pay for it if you don't want to. It's just if you want to unlock the extra features. They are our friends. We love them, and we are cracking on with the show now.
I've got a fact for you to start off with, right? No. So no, you'll like this one, right? So if Max Verstappen wins 2 more races this year, he will guarantee to end the ground effect era with more wins than any other driver combined. So yeah, I know. Ground effect era stats, right? Verstappen, 45 wins. All other drivers, 32 wins. Races remaining, 16. So 2 more wins for Max Verstappen. That is a pretty impressive stat. And I know he's been dominant. 2022, probably halfway through the season, you had a bit of a battle with, Leclerc. 2023, he dominated. 2024, he had a bit of a battle with Lando Norris. But that's impressive, isn't it? Like 2 more race wins and he's dominated this ground effect era.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone can look at this era and say, oh, it was just the car. Because I think he's proven that now that it's not just the car.
Yeah.
It is him. And we can look at 2023 as a reference point where the car was sensational, right? There's no denying that. But we've sat here since the inception of this podcast, back when it was called Racecast, we've always said if you've got the best car, you need the best driver. And
he dominated it.
He took it to another level.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at Max Verstappen, well, we've said, he is the best driver on the grid. There's no one there's no one even near him at the moment. And he's he's just in a league of his own. I personally do believe that. I mean,
I really hope he doesn't get that stat though. Not gonna lie.
I mean, 2 race wins. He personally doesn't feel that he's in a championship battle this year.
He is. He's Max Verstappen. Of course, he's in a championship battle.
Exactly, but he has won already this year. I'm pretty confident he will do it. I'm pretty confident he will do it.
I would bet some good money on the fact that he will do it.
Yeah.
He's anyone who doubts Max at this point is an idiot.
One person who definitely won't be doing it though is Lance Stroll. And there's a bit of an update. As we know, last week we discussed the rumours that were going around about Lance Stroll apparently, chucking tyres at his team.
We got in trouble for spreading misinformation there.
Did we?
Come on. Yeah, a few people commented on the post saying like you're just spouting lies, and yeah, we were. Well, obviously Lance Stroll didn't go into the garage and throw tyres at his fucking engineers. Yeah, it was a joke. Like, we know that didn't happen. We were speculating about things that could have happened.
It was a chassis. It was a chassis he chucked, right?
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? He could have walked into the garage and turned into a fucking alien. It doesn't mean we're spreading misinformation. It's just a possibility that did happen.
I heard though that apparently there was £11,000 worth of damage. Again, all of this is speculation. However, so
that was probably just his diamond ring.
It was. He lost it in the garage after he went to swing for one of his. Again, don't come at me. I'm only joking. So, in response to the growing speculation, Aston Martin issued a statement clarifying that Lance Stroll's physical condition and the supposed garage incident were unrelated. So, whilst the team did admit that the driver was unhappy with the result of qualifying, they firmly rejected the suggestion that he had taken out his frustration on staff. So, okay, he didn't take frustration out on staff, but he did cause some damage. That's what I'm taking from that.
Yeah, it's very specific wording, isn't it? And these PR people are not stupid. They are very tactical in how they write these statements, and I take the exact same from that. I'm assuming he caused damage. We know to an extent that is true. Can I just confirm, right? If you listened to last week's episode, or you saw any of the clips on social media, I obviously don't think Lance Stroll went in there and started frisbeeing tyres at people's heads. Like, I don't think anyone thinks that's true. I know we kind of made a few jokes about Lance Stroll being a nepo baby and whatever, but the thing is, I actually like seeing this from Lance Stroll. We said when he got into Q3, I think it was very early doors. I can't remember the race exactly. Maybe Australia, maybe. You know what I'm talking about. We were like, and he came over the radio. He was so pumped up, and we were like, oh my God, where's this Lance Stroll been? It's so good to see him have a bit of passion. So if it's true that he got out of the car, smashed some shit up because he was angry, granted, it's unacceptable behaviour, blah, 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 but he's passionate. And that's what I think a lot of us think he lacks. We think that he's very comfortable because his dad owns the team. He knows he can basically get away with shit results and not lose his seat.
We've said for a long time that it looks like he doesn't care, and that
it looks like a hobby to him.
Yeah, prime example was obviously Brazil last year, but there's been we started the year really praising Lance Stroll because he looked more energetic, he looked more passionate. And do you know what? I even got a stick last week when I said in the clip that he's carrying the team. I was obviously joking, but obviously someone took it that I was being literal. I did respond back to them and I did say, do not get sarcasm. However, I was only joking. He's not carrying the team. But I don't know, with Lance...
technically he is. Can I just put that out there?
Technically he has the most points, yeah.
I know that I even rubbished that argument last week, but technically he is carrying the team this season. Fernando Alonso has picked up, 1 point now, I think?
2, because Max got...
Of course. So he managed to scrape a P9. So he is technically carrying the team, but it's obviously a horrific statement to say, oh, Lance Stroll's carrying Aston Martin this season, because, you know, it's kind of not looking at the bigger picture.
Okay, answer me this, and you guys, listening at home, and you have your opinions about Lance Stroll, but does he deserve to remain in the sport? And this is what, I'm going to throw it to you, Luke, as well, but does he deserve, after all the years he's been in the sport, has he done enough to, when you look at next year, the 2026 Aston Martin is meant to be, in theory, one of the best teams. They've got Adrian Newey there now. They're meant to be, potentially going for championships next year. Is Lance Stroll the right person to have in that seat heading into 2026? Or should Aston Martin be going, do you know what? We've got half a season now to kind of mix things up, see, try another driver, potentially Drugovich, see what he can do, and go that direction. I want to hear from you guys. And you, Luke.
I mean, well, yeah, because they're not going to respond right now, so it would just be silence if I didn't answer this part. I think, look, I hope there's more to come from Lance Stroll. I really do, because I think he's shown glimpses of talent over, I've always said this, Lance Stroll is far from the worst driver on the grid. He's also far from the best driver on the grid. But I think they're going to have to start considering when they're going to take this seriously.
Yeah.
And that involves them seriously considering whether Lance Stroll is the man to sort of head that project. Because I'm not being funny. Okay, they've got Fernando Alonso, who has an incredible, 2 world championships under his belt.
Yeah.
He's had some incredible seasons as well. And don't get me wrong, when he had the car that was capable of sort of getting further up the field, he was producing results. I'm talking about 2023, of course. But if you're looking now at a team that is invested, £30 million a year in Adrian Newey?
Yeah.
So that's his salary. They're investing heavily in infrastructure and everything behind the scenes, the amount of engineers they've recruited. Is that the partnership that you want? And I'm sort of taking this away from just Lance Stroll, because I do think at this point it's unfair to just look at him, because this has nothing to do with Fernando's talent or ability. This is looking at life, and he's pushing on. He's well in his 40s now. He's been in the sport since, correct me if I'm wrong, 2001. I've got no notes in front of me. So is that really who you're going to head up the team with?
No.
Right? Lance Stroll, who has been in the sport for a lengthy time, he's shown us not a lot. I'll stress again, he's not shown us that he's a bad driver. He's just shown us that he's not really something to write home about. And then you've got Fernando Alonso, who is, before you know it, he'll be 50. Is that really where you want all this money going? And I know people are going to come out and say, oh, it's Fernando Alonso. Yeah, great. But if this was 2007, I'd be like, well, yeah, fair enough. But it's not. Time has moved on.
Well, do you want to know Lance Stroll's stats?
I feel like they're going to make me regret saying that he's not the worst driver.
No. So he has 306 points in his F1 career. He's had 175 races. How many podiums do you think he's had?
3.
Okay, yep. Spot on. And how many pole positions do you think?
You expected me to get that wrong, right?
Yeah. It threw me off a bit there. How many pole positions do you think he's had?
None.
1.
When?
You should know this. The Turkish Grand Prix in 2020.
Oh my God.
It was a wet qualifying, so...
No, I remember.
Yeah. So,
That's where Lewis won his 7th.
He did. You're dissing Lance Stroll. He's got a pole position to his name.
No, it's great, but let's not forget that Racing Point wasn't a bad car, and I think this is why I also find, I find F1 such a complicated sport in this respect, because we're judging a driver off the basis that he's not really had a great car under his belt, and he obviously had the serious injury coming into the 2023 season, which, you know, now he's paying the consequences for. But he came back after 2 weeks with, like, was it 2 broken wrists, or at least one?
Yeah. It was a cycling incident, wasn't it? And mental. And
then going straight into racing, they finally have a car that is capable of competing. He's not at optimal performance. So I don't think we've had the true ability to test him. The Racing Point was actually a half decent car, because everyone knew they were just basically like the previous year's Mercedes. So, you know, I do find it hard to sit here and judge him, but I do think, like you say, a lot of the time he shows a lack of passion, and sometimes it looks like a hobby for him. So I think that's where most of the judgment comes from.
And I think that's where most of the frustration comes from fans. You know, you've got people who would love to be given the opportunity to get into F1. There's a lot of drivers out there who deserve a seat. And then, you know, the difficulty for Lance Stroll is everyone associates him with his dad, and they think he's in the seat because of his dad. That is it. It's hard to get away from, isn't it? Because
they think it, but is it true?
Well, I can imagine
if Lawrence Stroll sold the team today, would Lance have a seat tomorrow?
No. Unless right, that's part of the actual contract negotiations. Look,
you can buy my... he has to keep it. you can buy my team, you can't sack my son.
So Stroll, when's your contract? 2036. What?
Yeah, he's penciled in forever till the day. He'll be put down in an Aston Martin coffin.
he's just there. But no, would Lance Stroll be there if they sold the team tomorrow? I don't think so. I think anyone who coming in would have a bit more ambition, I guess, to try and take it in the next direction. Because you've got Fernando Alonso there, great, you know, 2-time world champion. You've got Adrian Newey there now. You know, this team needs to go forward. It's such a historical name that actually this team has to go forward. And you need to show that bit of passion and desire by actually making these changes, personally.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And that just kind of reiterates my point. If you're going to throw all this money into infrastructure and top-class engineers, just give them the drivers on track to bring their work to life.
Interesting talking about Aston Martin. So obviously Fernando Alonso was spoken to about when he thinks he may retire. I don't know if you've seen this. He said the 2026 car, it will be a very important factor for me to when my retirement will be. Because as we know, Fernando's been around for a very, very long time. And his response was basically, look, if I think the car is going to be in a good place for next year, then I'm all in. If it's going to be another season of potentially being a difficult time, then he would consider whether he would retire or not. Which I think is actually a fair point, because, you know, look, his time of actually being in a top car has come and gone. You know, he wants to have that final opportunity in a top team, in a top car, going for championships. And I think what he sees over the next few months is key to his decision whether he retires or not.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point. His time in a good car has probably been and gone. I go back to my earlier point. Even if they did have a good car, now, is he the man to be in it? I don't know. Like, I'm not saying either way. I'm just saying that is going to be something that Aston Martin have to think about. And
do you know what though? Sorry, I cut you off. But the one thing I do believe Fernando Alonso, from what go back to 2023, right? He put in.
That's 2 years ago now.
No, I know, but he put in some mega performances that year, and I still think you give him a good car, he will not necessarily. He might get the odd race wins here and there, but I think he would consistently get podiums.
But can he go head-to-head with Max Verstappen in a championship battle?
Not many people can go head-to-head with Max Verstappen.
True. Okay. All right, answer me this. This is a good one. If Oscar Piastri was in the McLaren, as he is, but instead of Lando, his teammate was Fernando Alonso, how's this championship battle looking?
It's a good question. Personally, for me, it would be Oscar all day long.
So that's kind of my point, right?
Yeah.
Aston Martin don't have an Oscar Piastri, right? Their Oscar Piastri is Fernando Alonso. So let's assume they have a competitive car and is able to win a championship. But you've got the likes of maybe Ferrari or Red Bull or McLaren. Is he able to go head to head in a championship battle with those boys at this point? I don't know, because I agree with you. You go back to 2023 and he still had that. He still had pace. I just think that was 2 years ago. It's so difficult to tell, and we don't know. The thing is, the guys at Aston Martin will know a lot more. They'll see him on the sims, like that. They'll see everything, and they'll know like the true pace of that car, what is being extracted, the comparison between the two drivers. But I wouldn't sign him. Put it that way. If I was in charge at Aston Martin and I had the opportunity to start the slate clean in 2026 with my drivers, and I knew that I had a good car, I knew that I had a championship winning car, I would probably try and look elsewhere. But then the flip side to that is, where do you get someone better than Fernando Alonso? Because you're not getting a Piastri, you're not getting a Leclerc, you're not getting a Max Verstappen. So where do you go?
Well, that's the issue, isn't it? There is not many drivers who would be leaving their teams. Lando wouldn't leave, Oscar wouldn't leave, Leclerc, Hamilton wouldn't leave. Russell, I couldn't see leaving Mercedes to go for
no chance.
Aston Martin. So yeah, the top drivers who the Aston Martin would go for, there's not many around, is there? So your best option is someone like Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, so... And that's not a bad option. I should stress that I'm not saying that's a bad option. I'm just saying it's not the best option. And does that marry up with the whole ethos of let's set the world on fire, basically?
Yeah. It's interesting. Do let us know at home. Like, if you're Aston Martin, we're heading into 2026, you know you've got a competitive car. Are you going to be sticking... Is Fernando Alonso the best of the rest options out there? Do let us know. Do drop a comment. Right, Luke. As we know, yes. Max Verstappen went a bit, off-piste last week.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
Deliberately trying to harm someone.
He did absolutely nothing wrong.
No. Again, sorry.
In his eyes, anyway, I think. Yeah.
And if you're watching on YouTube or TikTok, Luke was sarcastic then, okay? Just to put it out there before we actually get told that we're not being true. So, as we know, Max Verstappen is 1 point away from a race ban. And there was a lot of discussion this week that actually, with this, are we going to expect Max Verstappen to change his racing style to avoid a racing ban? It made me laugh this because I truly do not believe that Max Verstappen, one, cares about the points that he's got. Two, is going to change...
Does not give a shit, can I just say? No. Does not give a shit.
He is not going to change anything about his racing style. And actually, even if he did get a ban, he'd be just thinking, well, hang on, let's work this out, all right? I still get paid. I got an extra week off at home with the family. All right, give me the race ban.
It depends, right? This goes back to the point I made last week. Max, for whatever reason, is happy to self-sabotage. He's cost himself a lot of points in a championship battle that he can tell us he's not part of. He is. And he'll know deep down that he is.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I mean, one thing that makes Max so good, I guess, is the fact that he's so unapologetic. That's why he's got so many fans. That's why people like him. And that translates into his driving. And sometimes that sort of filters through into these unnecessary antics that he seems to pull off on track sometimes. But does he care about getting points? Probably not, but it would be embarrassing because when was the last time a driver got... I know we discussed this when K-Mac was coming up, but it's been a while since someone got banned essentially for dangerous driving. Because if you look at his record, I think there's a fair percentage that are for causing incidents.
Yeah.
So
I
it's not something to be proud of. And what I say is I know he's unapologetic. I know he's Max Verstappen. He's got 4 world championships. You know, realistically, he could get a 5th this year. But it's still not something he's going to be proud of if he ends up with a race ban.
No, I agree. Talking about a 5th world championship, so I don't know if you're saying, so obviously Callum Nicholas, previous race engineer for Red Bull, he came out and he was spoken to. He was there for years. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I watch his like Instagram reels.
I do. Yeah, he's very good.
Like F1 mechanic, like
yeah,
like MECH.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about. Of course I do.
So he was spoken to about obviously Max Verstappen, and he said he made a bold prediction that if Verstappen will my God, I can't speak. It is quite late.
Come on.
So
it will work.
He made a bold prediction that if Verstappen wins his 5th world championship this year, he would announce.
What word were you trying to say?
Successfully. There we go. Said it.
Oh, that's what you were trying to say. Successfully.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I know what you're trying to do there. So, he said that actually, if he wins his 5th world championship this year, he would announce his retirement from F1. What's your thoughts on that? Because that is a very bold prediction.
I don't believe for a second, and I know people are going to say, firstly, can I just say, even if you comment disagreeing, you don't know Max either. I don't know him. You don't fucking know him either, right? So we're both as stupid as each other. I don't believe for a second that there's no way Max doesn't care about holding the record for world titles. I know he plays it cool. You know, Mr. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. He does. If he ended his career with 8 world championships, he'll care about that. And he should do. Yeah. Should I just say, rightfully so. So, I absolutely don't think he would retire, especially going into a new era of cars. It's a fresh slate. Yeah. If he wins his 5th world championship and Red Bull smash it next year, my God, he could win 10. Where does it stop? And I genuinely think he's still young, right? If he won the next 4 world championships, right? How old is he? Probably like 31, 32. I don't know his exact age right now, but I'm pretty sure it's like 27, something like that. Maybe even younger, to be fair. It could be like... I know you're pulling it up right now, aren't you?
I am. Give me 2 seconds. He is 27 years old.
So come on. He'll be 31, 32, 8 world championships. Call it a day. He's made more money than anyone could ever imagine.
He'll just go sim racing. He'll be happy.
Do you know what I mean? He can spend time with his family. He's firmly cements himself as the greatest driver of all time. There's, you know, one of those championships would be contentious. I can't tell you which one, but
comment down below if you know which one we're talking about.
But yeah, I do think he cares. He clearly cares about racing a lot because he spends all his fucking time doing it. Do you know what I mean? If he's not in an F1 car, he's in a sim setup in his bedroom, like playing cars. Make it sound so sad. It's not, like, it's quite cool. But like, do you know what I mean? Like, he's either racing cars or he's pretending to race cars. So he does care. And
you see that on track though. You see that on track when you see the passion come across, and you know what we spoke about earlier, Lance Stroll. Okay, you know the passion that you want to see is something like the passion you see from Max Verstappen. Maybe not as extreme as wanting to take someone off the track, but the passion in the sense of, okay, this isn't working. We got to be better on this. We got to do this. We got to do that. That's what you want to see. He obviously still has that because you see that week in, week out.
Max is the guy that doesn't get invited to the party and pretends like he doesn't care. He does care. He does. And I think he should show it more.
Yeah. No, I agree. Do let us know what your thoughts are. Would Max Verstappen retire if he got his 5th World Championship? I don't believe so. Talking of Max, he has named his 5 greatest F1 drivers of all time. Little quiz for you.
Tell me this isn't going to wind me up.
Okay. Who are your 5? Who do you think's on the list?
Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton is on there, yes.
Good. Glad he showed him some respect. Michael Schumacher.
Yep.
Ayrton Senna.
Yep. You know who he is now, do you, after last week?
Oh, do you know what? Someone commented saying that was almost too obvious. I can understand why he didn't get it.
Oh, did
I was like, thank you. You understand me. It was too obvious. That's why I didn't get it.
It was a good thing though last week. I did like that stat. Who are the other 2?
This one gets a little bit tough. Seb.
Nope.
Ooh, it's snide, isn't it?
Yeah.
Seb's been good to him. Sort of same amount of world championships.
I'll give you a clue. Who's the one?
Has he put himself in there?
He has. Yeah, no, he hasn't. I'll give you a clue. It's whenever Max is walking around the track, you'll see him very closely behind, following. You know, like a little fanboy.
Paul de Resta.
David Coulthard. No, it's not.
Wait, he hasn't said that, has he?
He hasn't, no. Who's one current driver, right, who literally just wants to be like best friends with him?
Fernando
Alonso.
Yeah.
He's on the
list.
list.
Max Verstappen's dog.
Yeah, he's on the list.
I didn't mean it. It was a joke. It's just a joke. Everyone knows he's Lewis's dog. And then one more.
You won't get this one. This one, I'll tell you who it is because
don't tell me.
I guarantee you won't get it.
I fucking will.
So aggressive.
I'm gonna say. Right, I want 3 guesses.
Okay.
Because Alan Prost.
No.
I knew it wasn't. Fangio.
Yeah. Actually, well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fangio.
So apologise.
I'm sorry. No, fair play. I actually didn't think.
Always underestimate my knowledge.
Yeah. No, to be fair, I apologise. That was completely out of order for me. But yeah, no. So Schumacher, Hamilton, Senna, Alonso, Fangio. I was a bit shocked. I thought I was expecting Prost to be there, and I was expecting Seb to be there.
Right, well, he can only pick 5 people, so who are you taking out? You're taking out Fangio and Alonso, aren't you?
Yeah. Alonso's 2-time world champion. Seb's a 4-time world champion.
Yeah, I do think Seb gets disrespected in these conversations quite often. Fernando always seems to find himself in there, but he has only won 2 world championships. I know, fair enough if you're angry on TikTok, that's fine, but I don't care. He's got 2 world championships, and they were unbelievable world championships. Right, he came in, he was still a young man, sort of took the crown from Michael Schumacher. But Lewis Hamilton did come in on his debut season and rock the boat completely, and he went head to head with Fernando Alonso and ended up finishing ahead of him in the world championship. Fernando Alonso has never gone on to win a world championship again. Okay, Sebastian Vettel actually beat him to a championship in one of those seasons, as in where they went really close. 2012 2013 Alonso was also the closest to him, but Seb is never in these conversations. No. And I think actually that 4-year period from him was
dominant.
It was pure domination, and it wasn't as easy as I feel the past, Max's domination has been, or even Lewis's domination, sort of second half of that, it wasn't as easy for Seb.
Yeah.
There was a lot more competition then, other than really 2013, where it was a bit of an easy season for him. And yeah, I think you've got to remember he put Red Bull on the map.
100%. Yeah, no, I mean, I would have put Seb in there and Prost, in all honesty. But yeah, do let us know. Who would you put on the list? Firstly, answer that, but also do drop a comment and let us know Seb over Alonso, or do you put Alonso over Seb? Do let us know. Do drop a comment.
It's
an
weird
interesting
how
one.
it is always those two that seem to be like penned against each other, but Alonso always seems to come out on top. And yeah, I actually want to know people's rationale for that. Like, what is the reason?
Do you think it's because he's still current? And so for the newer fans, for example, or people coming through, whatever, they know Alonso, so they will always pick Alonso because they may have not seen Seb, or
I mean, Seb's drop off was not pleasant.
No,
put it that way. He obviously bottled the 2018 season. I say bottled. It was really difficult against, the greatest ever driver in his absolute peak, in a weapon of a car. But that Ferrari was pretty decent as well. And, Seb at one point had the championship in his hands. Yeah. And he bottled it. And then, next season they bring Leclerc in. And Leclerc beats him. Leclerc comfortably looks like the better driver. So I think it was just his drop-off has made fans think maybe he wasn't as good as he was, and he was really good.
Oh, he was incredible.
And it's just we've never really seen that drop-off from Fernando in the sense where he's been absolutely peppered by a teammate, or he's really shown those sort of weaknesses. Yeah. So I think Seb should have retired in 2020.
Yeah, I think
I feel like he just lost love for the sport in that sense. He found passion in other projects, and I think you saw that on track.
Okay, with Seb, right? There's always speculation whenever seats come up that actually potentially Sebastian could come back into the sport. Do you think he could come back into the sport if he was given a competitive car and go for a championship?
No.
Why?
Because he was given a competitive car in 2019 and couldn't go for a championship.
Yeah, but you got to remember he was going against Lewis Hamilton.
Okay, so he's going against Max Verstappen.
Yeah, fair point.
If anything, there's more conversation
over. Fair.
Yeah, well, that does dead the conversation because it's no different. Max is this era's Lewis. Lewis was last era's Michael Schumacher, or Sebastian Vettel, and Sebastian Vettel was that era's Michael Schumacher. Do you know what I mean? There's all these drivers that sort of have the baton passed on, and yeah, there's no point in Seb coming back to the sport. He's proven absolutely everything. He's got nothing left to prove. He's a full-time world champion, one of the best drivers to ever race in F1, and yeah, he had a drop-off at the end of his career. Completely normal, but I think that doesn't mean that he shouldn't be in these conversations, where that Fernando Alonso is in, and Seb's, for whatever reason, not part of them.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't make sense.
Completely agree. Do get involved, do drop a comment. So, Helmut Marko has said he assumes Yuki Tsunoda will continue with Red Bull through to the end of 2025. Revealing that they'll give Yuki time to adjust to his time at Red Bull. Obviously, we spoke last week about Red Bull and that second Red Bull seat being cursed and no one can actually drive it. I still stand by that. I don't think anyone can drive that second Red Bull seat unless you get a carbon copy of Max Verstappen, but I can't see that happening. Does Yuki deserve more time in that Red Bull seat?
I mean, they're Red Bull. You cannot sack two drivers in one season. You cannot go through three drivers in one season. That is not the stability that you need at a top team.
Mm.
So they have to. They don't have to keep him on for 2026. But at the same time, I would argue the point that we did last week. No one is able to sort of pull that car forward like Max Verstappen. So they need to look into that, because there's got to be a reason behind that. And you can't tell me that Liam Lawson is such a bad driver that he wasn't able to at least finish in the top 10 with it. Yuki Tsunoda is such a bad driver all of a sudden that he's able to get the RB into good positions, but not the Red Bull. That there's something fundamentally wrong with the car that they need to fix, and they can't just keep churning through drivers. It's not going to work.
So do you think if they change their car completely, for example, to try and make that change for that second driver, saying by doing that it affects the car for Max, do you think that that is something they would want to do to try and bring the second driver in line? But I suppose what I'm trying to ask is, if it's not broke at the moment for one driver who's picking up a good amount of points, should you change it?
Yes, because they're nowhere near a constructors title this year.
Yeah, but you don't want to piss off Max Verstappen, do you? If you change your car, which then affects him and his performance.
I agree. You can't, but there can't just be two options here. It can't be, okay, we either have a car that no one can drive, or a car that's a piece of shit, or we have a car that is really good for Max but shit for everyone else. That can't be the two options. Checo did well for a period of time in that Red Bull.
Yeah.
They just need to get back to that. Max won a world championship while Checo finished P2 in the championship. So I don't see why they can't get back to that, but it went wrong for Checo. It went really wrong for Liam Lawson, and it's going just as wrong for Yuki Tsunoda. So maybe not just as wrong as it did for Lawson. That was pretty fucked up.
I do think we, on the podcast, need to do a public apology to Sergio Perez, because, look, we were critical of Sergio on many occasions about his performances in that Red Bull seat. We thought it was him, but actually, well, at times it was. He has been the most successful partner with Max within this era of car, and
he's been Max's most successful partner other than Danny Rick.
Yeah, but no one has come close in that seat since Sergio has left. And personally, I think we need to apologise to him, because I think maybe we were a bit too harsh, and we didn't really listen to when he said it's a tough car to drive. We just thought it was him being crap.
That is true, but you're on your own there. I'm not apologising.
Fair enough.
Nah, I think the Sergio thing is it's a tricky one, because maybe Red Bull just aren't getting good enough second drivers. Maybe it is that. Why is Max Verstappen able to adapt?
But Yuki, Yuki has done a good job in that RB.
If you put Lando Norris in that Red Bull, how does he do?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think he would obviously do a lot better than Lawson, Tsunoda.
Perez?
I think he...
Come on, but Perez at the end was just
Perez,
bad as those
okay, if you're
boys.
talking about Perez at the end, but if you're talking about Perez in like the 2022 season, 2023 season, I think it would be tough, because that car is set up for Max. There's no doubt about that.
Lando is a better driver than Sergio Perez.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I agree with you on that one. Yeah.
I think maybe we do have to look at. how viable is it that it's the car and not the individual? Would Red Bull be in a better position if they did pick up a Carlos Sainz?
Yeah, but we said, didn't we? Look, Carlos Sainz has gone to Williams and hasn't hit it off, has he?
No, that is true. But Williams versus Red Bull, come on.
I don't know. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting topic, and it still baffles me that these two drivers have gone in and they've stunk it up and not been able to get those cars into Q3s and pick up good amount of points week in, week out. I still struggle to understand how they can't do that. And I'm coming to the conclusion that this car is solely set up and built around no one else but Max Verstappen. That's my only answer for it.
I just don't believe that anyone's driving style is that unique that someone else can't drive the car at least half effectively.
Yeah, but you got to remember these tyres, for example, and the chassis they put in on are more bulletproof for when Max decides to deliberately try and bounce off cars.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah,
different. It might take some getting used to.
Yeah, exactly. Do let us know. I mean, it's a topic that keeps going on and on. But firstly, does Yuki Tsunoda deserve till the end of the year? Does he? Can he turn this around? And actually, would Lando Norris do a better job than Sergio Perez or Lawson or Tsunoda in that second Red Bull seat? Do drop a comment. Do let us know. Right. Other news. Where has it gone?
We have more news.
I've got one more thing for you. And then we can talk Canada.
Okay.
All right. So, teams with unconfirmed seats for 2026.
Mm-hmm.
Red Bull, obviously the second seat, as we know. Yuki Tsunoda, he'll be there next year, yes or no?
I don't think he will be, to be honest. It depends, right? I don't think they would replace him with anyone but Isaac Hadjar.
Please don't.
I think it all comes down to whether they want to give Isaac another year in the RB. If they do that, then Yuki likely keeps his seat. I don't think they bring someone in for 1 year. But stranger things have happened. I think what we will likely see is Isaac Hadjar get the promotion. We've seen them do it quickly before. Max got promoted very quickly from Toro Rosso.
Seb did.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, it's hard to say at this point whether Isaac Hadjar is that sort of caliber of driver. Seb won a race in that Toro Rosso. He won at Monza in 2008, I believe. Max was sensational in that Toro Rosso. Isaac Hadjar has done good things, very good things. Has he done great things yet? No. But do we expect him to? Absolutely not. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Isaac Hadjar in that seat next year.
No, agree. Obviously, the RBs, both those seats aren't confirmed for next year. Lawson and Hadjar. As we know, Hadjar potentially may get promoted to Red Bull. We don't know. But who would you like to see in those seats for next year?
I think if Hadjar gets the promotion, we'll likely just see Lawson and Tsunoda.
But do you think Tsunoda would go backwards? Because it is a demotion, exactly like what Lawson did. But obviously, Tsunoda was there for a lot longer at RB. So then to lose your Red Bull seat and then go backwards again, I can't see it happening.
I mean, what are his other options?
I don't know. In all honesty, it all depends how the rest of the season goes. Because if this season is a real stinker, then that really tarnishes his name. In all honesty,
yeah. But then if you're RB, right, are you like, okay, we've got someone in F2 that we want to bring up into a seat, but we've then got the option to have Lawson or Tsunoda in the other seat.
Oh, you pick Tsunoda all day long, but I just I can't see Tsunoda wanting to go back, and I know if you get given an opportunity in a seat, you just take it wherever you get because.
Gasly did it.
Yeah.
Lawson's done it. Why would Tsunoda not do it?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's no other opportunity,
No,
And,
it's fair.
and
It's fair.
Gasly has proven that you can bide your time at AlphaTauri, or Toro Rosso, RB, whatever you want to call them. I don't give a shit. And you can still then have a successful career off the back of that. So I don't think Lawson would be silly about it.
No.
Sonoda will be silly about it. Sorry.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Do let us know before that. And obviously Alpine, we know obviously Gasly's got his contract next year, but we don't know the other driver. From what we
Colapinto might not see the end of the season.
He may not see. Yeah, what we're hearing though, Briatore is furious with Colapinto at this moment in time. That's what reports are saying. Just with how it hasn't. I think from Briatore's point of view, you would be pissed, wouldn't you? Because you've got Colapinto as your reserve driver because you're kind of like, that's my golden child. That's the one who, if all goes to plot with Lawson, we can put him in there, perfect, sorted. It hasn't worked out at all, is it?
Do you mean Doohan?
What do you mean?
You said if it all goes to pot with Lawson.
I meant Doohan. Did I say Lawson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're Briatore and you're going, it's completely a shit show with Doohan. We've got Colapinto. Perfect. We can put him in there. He'll go on and smash it. It hasn't worked out for Colapinto at this moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really Franco's fault that they paid $5 million to get him as a reserve driver.
Yeah.
Like, it's his fault that, to some extent, that he's not performing well. The car's not great, but he is performing.
But you say that.
He's massively underperforming.
Gasly is getting the most out of that car. He's picking up points. He's getting into Q3s.
Colapinto's not doing a good enough job. No one can deny that. But I'm not sure whether furious is a fair reaction. Disappointed, maybe. I mean, at the end of the day, it was Briatore that wanted him. It was, it's not like Franco Colapinto came to him, sold him the dream, and was like, put me in the seat, I'll break records. Like, he's the one that wanted him. He's the one that basically put a target on Doohan's back the second he put him in the car, which probably made him perform worse because he was a rookie coming into F1. And you're now putting him in a situation where he has to perform or he's going to lose his seat. Then he did nothing special, but it also wasn't awful. You take a seat from him, you put someone in who is now arguably doing worse, if not the same.
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough. I do feel for Colapinto. I'm hoping he can turn it around, but it's tough.
I want to see him smash it in that seat.
Go on then. Let's get on to Canada. This is your part.
This is my part.
I did actually miss racing this weekend. I realised after a triple header, I got so used to every weekend being racing that actually I came to this weekend and I was a bit like, cool. Ooh.
It's so much better with a race weekend, and I prefer racing over football now.
Do you? Yes, exactly the same as me. F1 is my top sport.
Anyway, this week, round 10 of the Formula 1 season, 2025 Formula 1 season, and I bring you these stats from Box Club. Okay, we are heading to the Canadian Grand Prix, the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Okay, it's 4.361 kilometers, 70 laps, 14 turns, a top speed of 342.7 kilometers an hour, and an elevation of 5.25 meters. If you do want to watch all of this weekend's sessions, you have free practice at 6:30 p.m. till 7:30 p.m. UK time. Practice 2 at 10 till 11 p.m. Practice 3 is at 5:30 p.m. on the Saturday till 6:30 p.m. Quali is at 9 till 10, and then on Sunday we have the race at 7 till 9. But, Matt, who is the most successful constructor at the Canadian Grand Prix?
It's McLaren?
It's wrong, that, I'm afraid.
My other option was Ferrari.
That is correct. How many wins do they have there?
20.
11, you numbskull. Most successful driver?
Schumacher.
Actually, let me most successful drivers.
Okay, Schumacher.
Correct.
Lewis.
Obviously, Lewis Hamilton is there. And who holds the race lap record?
Give me the year.
I don't know.
Oh. Lewis.
Valtteri Bottas. What time do you reckon it was?
1 minute 16.2.
No. A 1:13.0.
It's a quick lap, isn't it?
It is. It's a tricky little track, and we've seen many nasty crashes. In that last turn, people smashing into the wall of champions.
I know we've spoken about this probably over the years every time we talk about Canada, but you guys, if you haven't checked it out, right, go and type in Canada Grand Prix Marshall Fall. Okay, it's something which it just makes you laugh. Have you seen it?
I don't know. I feel like we do talk about this every year, so I probably have, but I've forgotten.
All right, I'll send you the clip after, but go and watch it. It is the scariest but funniest moment. Every time I watch it, it just makes me laugh because I don't quite understand what this guy is trying to do. He's trying to get a bit of debris off, but when you've got cars coming towards you, I don't know why you're thinking.
Oh, is it then when he falls over? It's like one of those movie scenes, isn't it, where like his legs forget how to work,
but then he can't get up again. So it's like a constant. I'm not laughing at anyone trying to fall over, but it's just
Why I am. Okay. That's funny.
Yeah, it is funny. It is funny. Go and check it out. Do let us know. But Luke, the important question: who is your top 3 for this weekend's Canadian Grand Prix?
I'm gonna go for Lewis Hamilton P1.
No, you're not. You're just not. No, mate.
He's got a record to break.
Mate, we're trying to be a serious, F1 podcast here. You can't keep putting Lewis first. You just can't.
His first ever race win came in Canada.
Yes. When he was good. He's not good at the moment.
No, the car's not helping him.
No, okay, the car's crap. But I say crap, they still got a podium. Okay, just carry on. Lewis P1. Lance Stroll P2?
It's going to be Oscar's going to win the race, isn't he?
No, stick with what. Don't be pressured into changing it. You've gone for Lewis P1. Come on.
No. I'm going Oscar P1. I'm going Max P2 and Lewis P3.
Interesting. I'm going to go Oscar Piastri P1. PSP. Used to have one of those when I was younger. Piastri P1. Lando P2. And George P3.
Oh, I see. George is a good shout. P3. The thing is, right, every week we come and do this. I don't just want to do the same. I want to put some different drivers in there. You know what? Fuck it. Gasly, P3.
Do you know what I was thinking we should do? We should do like a little league with this between you and I. Like,
I feel like top 3 is too easy. I feel like we need to start doing like who's going to finish P6, P7, P8.
Okay, well, Lewis will be one of those.
Yeah, probably P7.
Yeah. And guys, you may come up, if it's the first time you've listened to us and you're going, well, why is he being so harsh to Lewis? I'm a Lewis fan. Nothing pains me more than seeing Lewis Hamilton obviously get, P1 in Q1 or Q2 and then finish P6, P7 in Q3. Nothing pains me more.
It's like hard coded into like F1 now. It's just that's what happens.
Yeah. But yeah. All right. What's going to be your shock weekend? A shock of the weekend?
Lewis Hamilton getting a podium.
Okay, that's a fair point. I'm going to say.
Imagine saying that statement a couple of years ago. By the way, like 4 or 5 years ago. The shock of the weekend is going to be Lewis on the podium. Mental.
Bortoletto is going to get his first points this weekend.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Nor is Lewis getting a podium. But Bortoleto will get his first points this weekend. That's going to be my shock of the weekend.
Guys, if you have any at home, make sure you comment them down below, because this is your chance. I want to make another shock.
Okay.
Colapinto is going to finish ahead of Pierre Gasly. What's that funny?
No, that's not going to happen. Yuki Tsunoda will get into Q3.
Yeah, isn't that mad how that is a shock?
Yeah, that is a shock.
I feel like he should. Who's bringing upgrades?
Apparently Red Bull are bringing upgrades, but apparently they're not as successful as they thought. Quick question though.
How would they know?
I don't know. You haven't told us the timings.
I literally have.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
I went through all of them. I went through the whole race weekend.
I thought you went through... Yeah, okay. I may have switched off for that bit. I generally thought you were just going... Did you actually do that? That's mad. Sorry, I was listening to you.
Sounds like it.
One question that somebody asked, Luke, and this was a good question, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think there should be a female and male drivers' championship? I think that's a good question, actually. I know you've got like the F1 Academy and stuff at the moment.
I really don't want to upset anyone here with what I'm going to say, and this is how I think about the situation, right? Everyone knows that these sports are commercial. It's so expensive to run F1.
Yeah.
You know, to operate a team, even honestly for the tracks to host the races. Would a female series at this point pull enough viewers? It's different with football because it's a lot cheaper to operate than it is in F1. I think it's less about splitting the series and it's more about making sure there are opportunities for women to get into the sport. Women have been in the sport. Is it financially feasible for that to happen? If it is, and that is the best way to get, women who are at the forefront of motorsport into F1, then of course that makes sense. I don't think we'd see it because of the financials behind it. And, would it be... We've got F1 Academy, right? They're obviously not F1 cars. Would we see them in F1 cars? I don't know. But like I say, what is the reason we're not seeing women in the sport at this point in time? That's not a loaded question. It's perhaps we're not educated enough to sit here and be like, well, the reason they're not in it is because of this, this, and this. So if anyone actually knows if there is stigma attached to it, or if there's, too many barriers, or if it's a physicality thing, or if it's they can't get financed, or if it's because they're not introduced to the sport young enough because it's not considered like a girl's thing to do, then let us know, because I don't know.
No, I mean, do let us know.
And I think a lot of fans are probably in the same position. So I sit here and hear your question of, should we see a men's series and a women's series? I'm not sure that's the way to do it, and I'm not sure at this point in time that would even be feasible. And it's difficult again, because then what if you've got the men's series and that's always going to be the big men's series, and then you've got all the women's series, it doesn't get the same attention. It's kind of like, well, if we have female drivers that are absolutely capable of competing, why are we not just giving them the opportunity in F1?
I think I agree with you on that sense. I think instead of having two series, I'd rather just focus on, getting women into F1 and actually getting them through teams like that point of view, because I think that's so much better.
And I think it's one of those things that it has to start from the bottom up, you have to remember that a lot of these guys have been racing go-karts since they were 3, right? Because inherently it is a masculine sport. It's a masculine thing to do, to drive cars and race, be competitive and whatever. But we're seeing that shift now. You know, you've got a lot of young women or young girls in sport, and you're seeing it obviously massively in football. The women's football scene is growing like hugely, but it's going to take generations for that to sort of trickle into a thing that becomes so like socially normal, and like for young kids to be going and doing those things. You know, even now, like I'm sure a lot of the England's women footballers, for example, didn't start playing football anywhere near as young as the boys, and I can almost guarantee that the facilities that they had, or the classes, coaching that they had available to them at the time they were kids, were incomparable to the ones that the boys had. So I think it's something that just, it does have to start from the bottom, but the top have to lead by example.
100%, yeah. No, I agree. Do let us know if you're listening at home. Do drop a comment. Do let us know what your thoughts on that. But that is the end of the podcast. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully this setup and everything has actually worked well, and we can continue doing this and being able to bring you more content week in, week out. So especially over race weekends, that's something which we're looking at, to bring you more content, potentially some maybe more audio content throughout the week. So maybe you may get a couple a week depending on race weekends and stuff. So a lot of things which potentially we want to do more of. But yeah, do check us out on all social media: TikTok, Twitter, not so much Twitter, Instagram. Twitter, yeah. It's late. It's like 5 to 10. I'm tired. It's been a long day. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed the podcast, and we shall see you next week when we'll be reviewing the Canadian Grand Prix. So yeah, have a good week, and we shall see you soon. Bye bye.